All right. All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Behind the Back podcast, 49ers post game edition. 49ers drop a tough game to the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay. And the story of this one for me is injuries. And this is the 12th week that I'm saying this now. 11th post game that I'm saying this, that injuries were just a dominating factor. But this is kind of the unfortunate theme of this season for the 49ers. So I'll kick it off. Before I talk about the first half, let me talk about the injuries going into this game. Going in, obviously you didn't have Trent. You didn't have Bosa. Then it was discovered on Friday that Brock wouldn't be playing. And so insert Allen, Brandon Allen at quarterback. Not Josh Dobbs, Brandon Allen. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I like Josh Dobbs a lot. I think Josh Dobbs brings an aspect of athleticism to the quarterback position that I just don't see with Allen. I understand that Allen's been here for a couple of years. He understands the system at a different level than Dobbs may have. But I don't know. I just feel like in a game like this, especially in the going into the second half, maybe or maybe in the third quarter at some point, you probably might have been worth putting in Dobbs just to see, because there's a possibility of not having Purdy going into the Bills week. Now they're pretty confident he'll be there, but there's still a possibility you got to deal with. And I mean, they were pretty confident that Purdy was going to play this week, and he didn't play. So how confident are you really about an injury that, you really don't know too much about based on the fact he's had 2 MRIs now? So a little bit concerning. I don't know if I agree with Brandon Allen as quarterback. Now, the biggest issue with Brandon Allen at quarterback is coming into this game, he's playing with a broken finger on his throwing hand. So this was something that the coaching staff knew about, the team knew about, when they announced Brandon Allen as the starter going into this game. I'm interested to hear why Kyle thought Brandon Allen was the better option at quarterback with a broken finger than Josh Dobbs. I'm not going to sit here and say that, Brandon Allen played a terrible game. He played a game. It's hard when you don't have the best left tackle in football to, block your blind side, or in this case, your front side. But I don't know. That decision was a little weird. So I found something today going into this game that I want to just I feel I need to talk about, because Fox Sports did not do a good job talking about all the injuries for the 49ers going into this game. They would mention a couple players here and there, but they never put up anything that showed, how many of the injuries the 49ers are dealing with. They didn't allude to how many starters that the 49ers had out. So I will. Niners fans know what this is like, but to actually hear this list and see this list, it hurts. It hurts a lot. So brace yourself. Here we go. So out versus the Packers. This is everybody this year, okay? Going into this game. This is guys who are on IR that are already out for the season, combined with guys who are freshly injured. Brandon Ayuk, Brock Purdy, Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, Dre Greenlaw, Javon Hargrave, Travarius Ward, Talanoa Hufanga, Kevin Givens, Eli Mitchell, Curtis Robinson, Tatum Bethune, John Feliciano, Jacob Cowing, Darrell Luter, Mitch Wishnowsky, Ambry Thomas, Drake Jackson. And then in this one, early on, Deommodore Lenoir goes down early, plays through the rest of the game, but he went down early and he was limping. Jordan Elliott goes out with a concussion. Ricky Pearsall goes down and limps off the field. This is frustrating, but this is the unfortunate reality that teams coming off of a Super Bowl loss face. And it's something that at this point, I beat around the bush with it all off season, and I had a lot of hope that this team, they've been here before coming off of a Super Bowl loss, this team would be a little bit different. But this is 2020 all over again, and maybe to a different extent. So let me talk about the first half and what I saw. Takeaways from the first half: Niners couldn't tackle Josh Jacobs at all. And that was the theme for the entire game. In fact, he was In the third quarter, he had the most broken tackles by any one player in the NFL this season. He had like 14, and I know for a fact he racked up probably 6 more at least before the end of the game. He's eaten. Josh Jacobs is an incredible running back, and I don't think that the Raiders used him properly. Obviously, he had great seasons there, but he was not utilized in the pass game really. And Green Bay's really unlocked him, especially in the pass game. And I think that he's finding a lot of success with the Packers, and I think the Packers are finding a lot of success with him as well. So shout out to what they're doing. And look, the Packers, before I go any further, Packers came in and took care of what they needed to do. This is a 49ers team that had no right sticking around in this game, had no right making this close. They had no right even going for the win. So Packers took care of business. This is what they were expected to do. So first half was a mess. Couldn't tackle Josh Jacobs. Couldn't dial up any pressure on Jordan Love. You allowed 200 yards of offense to the Packers. Injuries were really showing, especially with that Nick Bosa we talk about. Couldn't dial up any pressure on Jordan Love. Well, that's a massive hit when you don't have Nick Bosa. At that point, you're completely depleted. Your edge presence is one guy. It's down to Leonard Floyd at that point. And look, Leonard, he was out there. He was making plays, but it's easy at that point to just double up on Leonard Floyd and make sure he doesn't get through because the other side's not going to do anything. So frustrating loss there, right? To be down at 10 at halftime was impressive because, obviously it should have been 17. Green Bay missed a wide open touchdown. Just dropped the ball. I think it was Watson that dropped the ball. It was wide open. It should have been a 17-point lead, but they dropped it. Probably the one thing in this game for the 49ers to go right was that play. You get the ball back after half, and you're just hoping at this point to get any momentum. They come out at halftime, and Debo's the kick returner, and he takes it like 82 yards, but our backup tight end gets called for a penalty for a holding that brings it all the way back to our own 20. Completely negates the progress that Debo made down the field. And it was a prime Debo play. Simple as that. He had a great run, saw the hole, took it straight up the gap. He was gone, but negated by a penalty. And penalties in this one were a major factor. The 49ers had over 100 yards in total penalties, if you count that one. But if you're just counting the offensive and defensive, at one point, they had nine penalties for 77 yards. That's terrible. You're shooting yourself in the foot. You're not giving yourself a chance to win. And a lot of these drives, they'd find some momentum on the offensive end, and then a penalty would set us back. Like we had like multiple or at least a couple 3rd and 1s that ended up being a 3rd and 6. And it, you converted one of those, but it could have just been a 3rd and 1. It's a little bit easier. Now Green Bay gets to dial up a different style of pressure on a 3rd and 6 versus a 3rd and 1. So, and these penalties too, a lot of that has to do with guys who just don't get the reps that they normally do. So you're missing all these key guys who understand situations, play situational football all the time. You have 2nd stringers, 3rd stringers in some cases with the Niners right now coming in and trying to fill spots against this Green Bay team they're rolling. They're figuring out success right now. They're finding ways to win games. And I know that they've had an up and down season as well, but they're at Lambeau Field. They're trying to jostle for positioning. Like their division right now is off the charts. They look like some of the best teams in football. So it was tough in that regard. Second half was a lot more of the same. Penalties were just killing the Niners. Every time that the Niners would kind of get any momentum, like a couple good throws, there was an interception. It goes through Debo's hands, like right through Debo's hands. Should have made that catch. It was actually a good ball. Goes right through his hands, interception. Christian McCaffrey gets a little bit of a run, fumbles the ball. 49ers end of things, they get to Jordan Love and on a sack, and he like bobbles the ball, looks like he's going to drop it. He doesn't drop it. And that happens a couple more times. And so it was like all these things were going wrong for the 49ers. We couldn't get a single thing to go right in regard to the Packers making a mistake. Packers really played essentially probably the best ball that they could have played today. And Jordan Love made a lot of mistakes. He should have had 3 interceptions. One of them would have come back, which was the one that was actually intercepted by Malik Mustafa in the end zone. But there were 2 more that were right into our guys' hands and just dropped them. So it's frustrating. And again, the guys that drop those interceptions are guys that probably wouldn't see reps at that stage in the game. And talk about not having your cornerback one. Talk about, on the other side of things, Diamador Lenore playing banged up. There's probably going to be something that comes out after the game, but probably Monday about his status. I think he'll be fine. He played the rest of the game. There's no excuse there, I guess, right? But frustrating game, man. And it's a lot of them the same with this team that we've seen all season long. So, man, I'm just hoping that this Niners team can find a little bit of juice in some of these young guys, and find something going into the offseason that you can kind of build around. Because, I talked about with Marcos if the Niners were cooked, if their season was over, and it felt like their season was over, but this was really the last ditch effort to kind of keep your season breathing, the final little breaths going, and try and build off of that. Well, you go into Green Bay and you get dominated. That's your season. That's been the season. You're 5-6 now. Your division is finding ways to win. It's going to be nigh on impossible to find yourself in a wild card position. And then at that point, in that wild card position, are you going to be, 1, healthy enough, 2, locked in enough to win a playoff game? I don't think you would. And I doubt you're going to have, at that point, you're not going to have home field advantage. And in terms of the road wins, well, you're not really stacking up to win road games right now either. So, frustrating season for us Niners fans. There's some interesting rumors going on that I want to talk about a little bit with Marcos, if it hasn't already been done by the time we talk about this next week on the main episode. But one of the big ones right now is Daniel Jones, released by the Giants, the New York Giants. And they got blown out today, too. It was like 30-7. So it wasn't a quarterback issue. And Malik Neighbors came out and said that. He's like, it's not a QB issue. But Danny Dimes got released. And the Niners are interested in signing him right now. It's interesting. It's an interesting little caveat that I want to explore. And I'm curious to talk about it with Marcos this week to see, is that an option? Is that something that makes sense for this Niners team? Does it make sense only for the remainder of the season? Does it make sense to, sit Purdy? Does it make sense to do something else? It makes sense to have somebody that, of that caliber sitting on your bench? I don't think so. I think you would, if you're going to bring him in, you bring him in to test him out. Kind of like a rental at that point. You're renting him to see if you want to continue on with your lease or lease to own. So we got some things to talk about. Niners fans, this is rough, man. I know. I'm right there with you. This has been a rough season. I'm frustrated. I'm crashing out. Everybody's lighting me up on text messages and snapshots and just giving me the work because, I have some audacious takes. And my audacious take going into the season was that the Niners would overcome this Super Bowl curse, this losing the Super Bowl curse that everybody knows about. And it was an audacious take. I said that they would. I think I said that they would go 15-2 or 14-3. You're not going to scratch that. You're not even going to scratch 10 wins, I don't think. So, yeah, tough season, guys. At this point, you're hoping to get to the end of the season, find a little bit of juice, play some of these youngsters, get them more reps, especially with a guy like Ricky Pearsall, who he's going to be a key factor for the 49ers and the 49ers' future. And if you can kind of almost use him as a wide receiver 1 or 2 option for the rest of the season and get him going, it's not like you're starting a quarterback in his rookie year. It's a little bit different in that regard. Quarterbacks starting in their rookie year, you run a big risk of ruining their development. But like a wide receiver or a running back or, essentially any other position, you have a little bit more cushion in terms of starting them and utilizing them as a main option throughout a season versus, that of a quarterback. So I'm curious to see what the Niners do. I'm not, after this game, not calling for Kyle Shanahan to get fired, because what are you supposed to do when you have that many guys out? And that's the biggest thing that I think that not just Fox, with the commentators tonight, but I think in general, the NFL and Niners fans are overlooking how banged up this team is. And when you get so many injuries like this, it just, at that point, guys start to feel that, like, what is going our way? What is going to happen for us that's any lick of good whatsoever, positivity whatsoever? It's tough. So, another frustrating season. We got the Bills next week in Buffalo. I don't know what the weather looks like there. I'm going to have to look into that, because we've got some interesting weather going on all around the country right now. So I'm going to be curious to see what we look like there. And if we've got a healthy Purdy, if we've got any of our main guys back. And again, like the big one, anybody who's injured, get yourself healthy. Charvarius Ward, take as much time as you want, like in need. This is, I talked about him being out. I have no problem with him being out. If he wants to be out the rest of the season, do what you need to do. This is your time. Recover. This is a recovery period. It's for the guys who are injured, get healthy, like, as best you can. But as for making like a playoff push, an end of season push, or finding any momentum like that, I don't know if it's worth it. So this is going to be something that Marcos and I need to digest and talk about. So we'll find a little bit of momentum, Marcos and I, when we talk about the Niners. We'll talk about some things, maybe some positives moving forward to look forward to. But frustrating week. I appreciate you guys listening in every week, as you always do. I've been Ben Retz, your host. Appreciate you guys. You can hit us up at any of our socials down below. Hit us up at behindthebackpod13@gmail.com. We love talking to you guys. We love hearing your guys' takes. We love hearing how much you guys disagree with our takes. I mean, look, light me up. I said they were going to have a lot of wins and make it right back to the bowl with almost no, hesitation. And here we are, right? So appreciate you guys. Love y'all. Bang, bang, Niner gang. It's time to go watch the Kings light a beam. Peace.